with a 1,000 members. And if you take a look at the numbers compared to the industry average, they're really good. Like, insanely good. Now, this isn't my absolute best in open rates and click rates. Not by a long shot. My best was actually somewhere a little over 60%. But the reason why I prefer to use this as my example more than the other one is because this one had something for sale. Now, there's a lot of things that went right to give it a really respectable open rate of 44.8% and a click rate to kind of rival, to go beyond industry average. So let's get started. So let's start with just the delivery to the list. This was before I started introducing some split tests to the organization, because as a copywriter, I'm really fond of just testing the living shit out of my copy. So I like to make sure I have, version A and version B, but this was before that. So the mailing list for this organization wasn't huge. At least not huge in the way that like Agora Financial is huge. But 2,000 members is good enough to get data. And that's what's the most important point here. So out of 1,900, 1959 deliveries that actually landed, 877 open to contribute to that open rate. This is a really solid open rate considering the mailing list size. Now, the other thing about open rates, the bigger your email list, okay, the lower you can expect your open rates to be. And it's simply because, yes, emails do tend to get buried in inboxes, which is actually part of why having a damn good email copywriter write your emails is really friggin' important. And out of those 877, we had 207 people clicking. Okay, so yeah, it checks out. 207 click-throughs at a near 2,000 members, 10%. Again, expect that to go down as you grow your list. Okay, like if you take a look at some mailing lists who have, like, I've seen and heard of a mailing list where they had around 7,000 guys and the engagement there was like a 15 to 20% open rate. Not bad for that list, but I want to see if I can do better. And so here's a bit of terminology for you guys out there. In email marketing and email copywriting, a bounce rate tells you how many of those deliveries were duds. Now, there can be like a few different reasons why an email delivery would bounce, but the biggest one that I've seen for this industry, for the martial arts industry anyway, is simply because the email address is null and void. And as a result, MailChimp kind of returned it to center and went, hey, this email address is crap now. We need to find a more accurate one. So, this isn't bad. This is actually very natural. There's always going to be bounce in an email list, simply because you can't change the fact that some people might deactivate their email addresses, create new ones. The list goes on. And let's talk about this one right here, the unsubscribed list. Now, this actually brings up a point that I remembered when I started out, saying that every email list decays naturally at a rate of like 22% a year or something like that. So if you have an email list of, say, 10,000 right now, by the end of the year, you can expect it to end up at 7,800, let's just say. Just a rough hypothetical. Could be more, could be less, but that's also part of why it's pretty damn important to have your front end dialed in so that your ads, your campaigns are constantly pulling in leads. Now, see, here's the problem that I have with MailChimp and hell, any email service provider that has its built-in analytics. They're great as a starting point, but they don't give a complete picture. And it's simply because they can't tell you what goes on once someone actually clicks the link that you have on your emails. So this was before I delved into the basics of Google Universal Analytics, and because I was working with an organization where, they had to juggle their own stuff as well, and sometimes they had to put out fires, sometimes it could feel like pulling teeth trying to get more, I guess, specific, more clear information to figure out, how many enrollments they made, or, how many people bought the seminar ticket. This was something I had to learn throughout my time with my first paid client, and that was when I started installing in UTM parameters. So the rest of these metrics aren't overly important if you're going international and you're not trying to really zone in on one location. But you do want to pay attention to these if you're going to localize your marketing. Because some, kind of like how I go on these lives in like the early afternoon, email marketing is best executed when you deliver at a time where the most number of people are checking their inboxes. Now, I know that with this quarantine, that really doesn't seem like much of an issue, but it's kind of surprising, really, how busy people can be, even when jobs are shut down, everyone's on furlough, and the government can't really take care of anything. So, total opens 1371. This doesn't account for unique opens, by the way. This is just how many people took a look at the subject line and thought, okay, let's go ahead and check it, and there's going to be a lot of repeats on there. Otherwise, this wouldn't make much sense. And then here, total clicks, again, some were definitely by the same people, just enough to number up to 307. Now, one thing that this doesn't really talk about is deliverability. And, for the sake of that client's privacy, I'm not going to really give away too much information as far as a name or, well, yeah, as far as names go. So deliverability is basically this number. If you can keep it as close to 100 as possible, you're good. But this is also why it's so important to make sure you're communicating with your audience on a regular basis. And I've seen what happens to even mailing lists who email like once a month. Sometimes I'll find some kind of email from those guys in my spam folder, and I'll be reacting like, wait, how the hell did you get here? Okay, let's put you back in my inbox where you belong. Yes, I actually check. So this is why regularity is so important. You want to make sure that with regularity, you can keep this number up instead of having to worry about, oh, hey, wait, did this thing get hit by the automatic filters? Remember, you don't want Google or Yahoo or Outlook or whatever other email services people use to automatically put you in the spam box. All right? That's the worst thing that can happen. If you're going to get rejected by your subscribers. At least then you can figure out where the hell exactly you're going wrong instead of having to wonder why, you're not getting past their filters in the first place. And let's see, what else was I going to cover? This was kind of impromptu. And the other thing that affects deliverability is, again, the bounce rate. So the bounce rate, the unsubscribers are doing you a favor, by the way, because that means you don't have to spend so much time. And in case you have a large enough email list, you don't have to spend so much money getting your message out. So unsubscribers are good. Too many of them suck, but unsubscribers are good. It saves you the effort. The ones you want to be careful of are the guys who bounce. So that way you might have to send some kind of email to check in on them. It'll probably sound like something out of a re-engagement campaign. You want to send something out that checks on them to make sure, hey, is this still good? To clarify if it's a soft bounce. I'll get into all the exact terminologies later, but right now you want to check to see if the email addresses you deliver to are still good. If it's just technical difficulties, then it clears up by itself. Then, maybe try delivering again. Should be, if it's a soft bounce, it should be okay. But the main thing you want to worry about as far as deliverability is getting past that spam filter and making sure that whatever content you throw out there for your email audience is very relevant to them. And admittedly, it's hard because sometimes you might start feeling like you're being repetitive. But I can guarantee you right now that there's going to be plenty of people that don't know jack crap about what you know, and they're going to need your message. So, again, let's go over this. This is a good open rate simply because the list is small and I had a really good audience to work with. That was literally it. A kick-ass audience and a small enough list can result in a high enough open rate. Same thing with the click rate. You want to worry yourself first about successful deliveries. Okay? If that thing looks like it's straying too far from 100, that's when you want to take a look at whether or not your stuff is getting past the spam filters. You also want to take a look at the bounce rate. You want to make sure that the email addresses you're delivering to are still good, and if not, you want to find out why. And ironically, be very grateful for your unsubscribers because they just gave you more room for a few more. Well, a few more readers anyway. But the main things you want to make sure of are that your emails are getting opened, people are clicking on them, and they're buying whatever is on the other side. And again, this is something I can help with because in 9 days, I'm hosting an Ask Me Anything where I'm going to go live, and you, the martial arts instructor, you get to pepper me with questions until I start squeezing out I don't know, but I'll find out as my only valid answer. So again, free event, and if you decide that you're certainly going and you RSVP that you're going, go ahead, PM me your email address, and I'll go ahead and send you the frameworks I've been working on. Thank you.